Going live. Waiting for the live. Come on, YouTube. You're live. All right. Welcome to Worldwide Stock Car Chat on Zoom, number 100 and whatever. I'm your host, Greg Galb. Gang's all here with Gaza and Big Dan and Russ and Don and J-Rod and Luff and Mike and Dennis and Chris and Jim and Dewan and Phil and Bill and Wayne and other people, and we're going to talk stock cars. If you want to, if you guys want to talk stock cars. I assume that's why you're here. If you have anything you want to show off, let's start off with show and tell. So if you've got any projects you worked on, projects you recently finished, maybe for other people, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. I don't see any hands going up. I don't really
Nobody
have
got anything to it. New cars?
I didn't get any new cars. All my talking is club related.
Yeah, I got a new car.
All right, well, Dennis, go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Believe it or not, it's still in its box.
Well, show off the box. We love doing that. All right, spotlight time.
Scaleauto.
Yeah, one of the Scaleautos. I have one with the high nose that I did Atalaya decals on to turn it into a Benetton. And then I was thinking about what am I going to do to turn a low nose one into something, and they really didn't have anything decent. So I got one of these, which is the Gerard Berger McLaren MP5B, the MP4/5B, which he rode alongside Senna, I seem to remember, in 1990. And so I'm just going to adjust the helmet, because as you can see, it's just a plain blue helmet, although it does have the Honda scripting across the visor, which is nice. But the rest of the helmet needs some work, primarily because it was originally black anyway. And secondly, it has the Austrian red and white stripes on the side. So I'll be changing that. But these are super little cars. They actually really run very well. And we can run them together with the NSRs now at some of our racing. So this one probably gets some competitive use.
Do they need any changes to run competitively with it?
In our racing down here, you have to put in the NSR motor, which is unfortunate because I think that the Scaleauto motor is actually a little quicker than the equivalent NSR. Other than that, no, the tires are good. These are those AS25s or whatever they call them. They're a little difficult to true, but they work very well. And then of course you take down the front ones a little. So yeah, there was that. And then I put together.
Can you hear me? Come in. Can you hear me?
How do they work on the track, Dennis, with the longer guide lead compared to the NSRs?
They seem fine. I don't think anybody's quite got them to the point where they'll beat the NSRs yet, but I haven't done a lot of work on one, so I can't really say from a personal point of view yet. But I'll tell you about it. I know Bob Hooley and a couple of others, and I think Jim may have one as well. They seem to work pretty well. Certainly track, on my home track, they're just as good as in NSR.
If on our track, if you put NSR wheels and tires on them and an NSR motor, they're about 0.2 faster.
Okay.
Chassis stiffer, I think. Yeah. And so there's some things that we don't allow them because there's stuff you would have to allow then with NSR that we don't want to do to make them equal, in my opinion.
Right. And that's racing on commercial type-ish tracks, eh, Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know up here on the, your sort of average tight and twisty club tracks, the added guide lead is not a bonus.
I don't have one of those cars yet. It looked like the entire rear end gearing was out in the open. Is the body not covering that at all, or did I just see something? You're muted still.
Kind of. The body doesn't really cover the back end of the car very well at all. You could see there's just like that little centerpiece there, just here, and
So
then
it's-
all of the pod is all sticking out. I know on my other one I sprayed the whole thing black so that it looked a little better, and I'll probably do the same with this.
Okay, that's what I was seeing.
Yeah,
And they are really, 'cause what Dennis said, I found that the motor is faster than the NSR2, and that car has a taller gear. So just pure speed wise, they're really
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah, they're quick. They are quick, and they're pretty. I mean, they've done a really nice job of the tempo printing. It's pretty crisp here and there. There's one or two little pieces that, like the center of the V up front on the nose, that's fading a little right up in the corner. But other than that, it's pretty nicely done.
Beans. Alrighty.
And then I actually I bought a Ninco the other day. Haven't got it here, but it was the Lightning version of the Audi R8 LMP, because it has a little pod and springs.
Yeah.
And I put that together and tuned it up, put it on my track. It actually runs really, really nicely.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it at all.
that was
I've still
back.
got a-
Fly
I've
was
still
doing.
got an old. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying that was from the same era as the Fly Racing, when those manufacturers realized that they could make a decent car.
I've
Yeah.
still got a single piece Ninko chassis Toyota Supra from probably 2006, 2007. And I put some slot car corner front axle brackets on it and a few other bits and pieces in an axle tube. And it is probably still my fastest car in a single piece chassis. It was just one of those chassis. that
Nincos are
just
always
had
good
the
on
right-
wood tracks.
Hmm?
Ninco have always been pretty good on wood tracks.
Oh yeah, it just had the right amount of torsional flex in the whole chassis plate, and the thing is just a monster.
Yeah, I found that I was quite pleasantly surprised with this Lightning version. It
Yeah.
has a super nice machined aluminum wheels,
Yeah.
and regular 332 size axles, and a nice tall gear ratio. I think it's like 925 or something like that. With their long motor, which is rated at, I think, 22,000 at 14 volts. So it's probably a little slower than an NSR or anything like that, you know. But the car actually runs pretty well. I was quite impressed. And the tires work. Well, Ninco make on those Lightning wheels, they have like four vertical flanges,
Yeah.
right? So of course the first thing I did was put them on the lathe and machine away the middle two, so that it had this nice deep pocket, and then fill that with foam and put its own tire back on. And there's plenty grip from Ninco rubber on my track.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it works fine.
the old Ninko 20x7s and 21x9s, those the skinnier
The classic
tires.
ones.
Yeah, spectacular. Great grip of those things.
They work really well. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always been Ninco have always had good rubber compounds for whatever reason. All right, that's me for today.
Okay, thanks, Dennis. And Luff, you got your hand up. You gonna tell us about your track, or what's going on in your neighborhood?
Yeah, nothing.
Nothing.
I got the drywall's done, the painting's done, but I'm waiting for them to replace the floor. So until they do that, I can't get started. I got all the material I need. Anyway, I'll start taking pictures when I get going.
Remember, some of us are learning from you, man.
Everybody wants him.
Yeah,
The pressure's on.
looking forward to it. Now, looking forward to seeing some new stuff, though. Good luck.
Yeah, I'm gonna take my time on this one. Hopefully it's my last track.
Hopefully,
And why is that hopefully?
because he doesn't want to.
Why should it be your last track? Come on.
I'm a softwood.
At $84 a sheet of MDF,
Yeah,
just
Oh,
Crazy.
wow. Is that what it costs up there?
yeah.
84 Canadian. So that's
Even so.
still, yeah, it's still, yeah.
Half inch is cheaper. I use 3/8.
Oh, that was 3/8. Yeah, that 3/8 is more difficult to get.
Specialty order.
Anyway, I'll keep you up to date.
Alrighty, looking forward to it.
I might have to bail out. My hearing aids are cutting in and out.
Totally understand.
If I disappear.
We love it when you can come on.
A few hours of heavy duty routing will clear that hearing problem up for you.
Yeah,
Just take them out while you're out. You're fine.
That's right.
50 years.
That'll sort them out for once and for all. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Luff. Go ahead, Dewan.
Okay, I just received a package about 5 minutes before we started. Some goodies. Well, you can't see very well.
Background.
Yeah. Well, anyway, what it is, it's Garth's custom-made wheels, the center lines. And it's going to be very difficult to see because it's so small, but nonetheless, they exist. Believe me, yeah, trust me on this. I have 2 different versions.
Super
And,
cool.
Nice.
Yeah, we
it's
can't
not-
see the detail.
They just
Yeah,
look
you
like
can
white
see-
wheels.
I'll take a picture of them and blow it up. But I just got them, so. And then I got my my chrome markers. I'm gonna go ahead and try to get them cleaned up a little bit. But I want to thank Garth. I definitely owe him quite a bit for making this dream a
Have
reality.
you used those markers much, Dewan?
No, this will be my first time.
And you're going to use those for the wheels?
I had planned on it. Give me some suggestions. I'm all
Well,
open.
no, it's fine, but you really need to let that ink dry a long time. And then the only thing you can coat it with really is Pledge or Future. Anything else will just dull it and make it look like silver paint.
Okay, thanks for those tips.
And you
Appreciate it.
really should coat it because it's not paint, it's ink, and it never really gets, robust and hard. So you really need to coat it.
Ironically, I do have a can of Pledge. I don't think you can get any of that stuff anymore, but I think I do have an old can.
Yeah.
Garth, did you put those up on HRW yet? I can't find the center lines on there. Okay. I was hoping to be able to show a picture of it.
Oh yeah, he did send me some pictures of it. I can do that.
Oh, there you go. Dig up a screen share for us.
Yeah. Let me. I forgot about that. Let me bring that up right now. Jeez. Don't think these things half the time.
I got CAD images of it.
That's
Okay.
fine too.
Hey,
Okay.
come on, you got to take some really good photos. I want really good photos. Email.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. I will.
Because they're polished, right? You got them polished, right?
Yes. It came
But
polished.
I haven't done anything with polish, so I want to see how that comes out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let me
showing
bear
off
with me while I do this search real quick.
John's trying to brag. He's got a bottle of Pledge with Future Shine.
Oh wow.
I paid like $10 for this. I don't know, 15,
wow.
20 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Rub it in.
Now,
It's
some people
almost
on eBay want 65.
Yeah.
Oh, these are okay, let me see. These are the CAD drawings, but let me go ahead and share it anyway.
Oh, that's super old, Dennis. That's when it was
really
still called Future. You're muted.
Yeah, you'll never run out of it.
Yeah, I got a bottle from probably around the same time as John. It's down that. Wow, he uses it a lot though. I barely use mine. It's mostly full.
Yeah, so
Okay, yeah.
that's the CAD drawings.
Yep.
And then, I think I have another image here. One
I'll do it.
second. Oops.
Oh, all right.
I think there's a better image of the,
Those look good, Garth.
Just say, just from the half picture, it looked pretty darn good.
here we go. Here's another one. Oh, come on. I can't ever find my mouse. Use my finger.
That I can't help with. That's it. That's the other half.
Yeah. There we go. Oops. Oops, nope, that's still not the right way. Okay, well, that's the best. That's the other half.
I think we
I
get a
got-
good
I got-
idea of it. You got one?
I got
Garth?
some.
Okay,
I got
I'm
some.
I stopped you, Dewan. Go ahead, Garth.
Okay, great.
Yeah. See that?
That's what you modeled it after, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the real wheel. There's the
Yep.
that's a bunch of images here. That's the back of the wheel. This is the ones that Dewan had. Cutaways. Okay.
There you go.
And we did two different versions. One was the press on.
Yeah,
And then
this one is I don't know if I got a back version of that. That's the one for the insert. And there's one that's just a flush version. Insert.
Okay, yeah. So short hub and long hub, basically.
Yeah. This one's got the short version again. I think that's all I got.
Well, that gives us a pretty good idea, and certainly look forward to pictures of the painted and ready to run ones once you get that.
Now,
done.
Duane, I might, I thought you were going to do them with aluminum, like aluminum paint,
What's aluminum paint?
well,
just silver paint.
That's
mean,
that's what the pen is. It's chrome, a chrome pen.
Yeah, but I mean, do you want them chrome? Is that what you want them?
I think he does. Yeah.
well, they are aluminum.
The home of all the chrome.
I
I mean,
have, I have
it's still not going to be as chrome as real chrome, right? It's going to be
See,
really
just-
shiny.
Just let me tell you how I do them, okay? Just in case that
yeah.
doesn't work for you. All I do is I take whatever paint I like to use, like some kind of enamel paint, like Testers or Rust-Oleum or whatever.
Hmm.
And then I mix it half with paint thinner, 50%, 50-50. And then all I do is I take the wheel and I put it on an axle, just dip it down into the paint and spin it around a little bit. And then spin it in a garbage can with your fingers and just spray it off, okay, with an air can. Okay. And that works great. Just let them dry and they work. The nylon absorbs the paint really well.
What do you have a whole cup of this of the paint?
Yeah, just take a small
One?
cup of just enough
Okay.
paint mixed with paint thinner.
50
Okay, so
50?
that you can take the with the wheel on an axle, okay, and
Yeah,
dip
got
it
that.
down into the paint and just spin it around in the paint a little bit and then pull it up out of the paint just slightly and spin it with your fingers just to get this, to get
Yeah,
the slop
excess.
off of it. And
Uh-huh.
then spin it around, put it in a garbage can, and then just spray the excess off with an air can. And then just let it dry, and
The solution is 50% thinner.
50-50, yeah.
Okay.
So you want to do it with real thin paint.
If you could send me
Your
the
Are those wheels nylon, Garth?
Yeah, SLS nylon PA12.
Okay, you'd probably be much better off using an acrylic paint than an enamel.
Yeah, I'd be a little worried about the thinner attacking the
Yeah.
plastic, the nylon.
Well,
Or
enamel
softening.
takes,
No
enamel
chance.
takes months to dry.
Now, if you do it right with the thinner,
Okay.
it takes overnight to dry.
I've used some Krylon. I've used a Krylon spray that's called metallic aluminum, and when that stuff's sprayed, it's very, very close to what those Molotow chrome pens look like, and it's a lot hardier than the Molotow chrome.
All right. Well, Dewan has some options to try, and if it doesn't work, then he's got another option to try.
Yeah.
So looking forward to seeing what you come up with, Dewan. And it looks like we're ready for Mike. Are you ready, Mike?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a tell more than a show. If you remember, I raced this car I raced it last Monday, but I just got it a little while ago and I chipped it. And one of the things that with the Cartrix and the Ninco cars is the front axles are really sloppy. And the Ninco not quite so bad side to side, but up and down, it's really sloppy. So what I do is if you look closely, you can see the set screws there. Those are 5mm long set screws that I just drilled a hole directly above the axle, screwed the set screw into it, and that takes care of the slop, and it makes all the difference. Works really well on the Cartrix Formula Ones that I have, and on these and a couple other cars I've tried it on worked really well. Because a lot of times the cheaper cars, the slop in the front end is significant.
Did you do anything to stop to keep them from going up too high? Like, are you trying to use them as stabilized?
Well, actually, most of the cars, if you put them up to the highest point, that's where they really want to be. You can loosen them a little bit if you want a little bit more slop. But for the most part, the highest point that they will fit seems to work the best. I don't know why. You could put blocks on them if you wanted to on the inside. It'd be a little bit harder to make something adjustable, but just removing the slop made a huge difference in the way it worked.
Mike, could you show us that car again, the bottom of it?
Sure. You can see the two screws just to the side of the guide there.
Okay. Yeah, I see them now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just drill a hole straight through it. You don't even have to tap it, just run the screws in, and they're tight, and you can adjust them. It works really well.
Cool beans. Good idea.
Is that Mauer suspension? Is that what they call that?
And non-mag suspension.
All right, Garth, now you can show up, Mike, and show us how clever you are.
Oh, I'm not clever at all.
Okay, well, you put your hand up. What you want to show?
Well, hang on. I got some the newest wheel. Okay. This one, Mike kind of knows about this because he helped me with it. Okay. You guys got that?
Not yet.
Really?
Click that final share button.
Well, we know you have center lines now.
There we go.
Okay, this is a wheel that is a homage to the 720 McLaren. Okay, and it's designed in three different versions. One front, two rears. This is the first rear. This is 17 by 250 diameter, 10 millimeters wide. Okay, and it's got a ranch design insert in it, and the long insert, the original insert. Okay, and because it's such a big wheel. Okay, and that's a black version of it, white version of it. Here's the air wheel version of it. okay? It's same size, only it's got air ribs on it.
Now you got me interested.
This is the dentist version of it, okay? And white. This is the front wheel, okay? This is 8.3 wide by 17.250. And this one uses the shorter insert, okay? And all these wheels are designed with the half flush idea, okay? And you'll see that in a second. This is the front, what it looks like from the front. And it's a homage to the 720. And that's the half flush, what a half flush version looks like. And both the front and the rear wheel stick out half of the end cap of the hub, which is 1.3 millimeters from the back of the wheel. There's a shot from the front. That's a cutaway view of this is a cutaway of the 10 millimeter, with the long insert in it.
So is that a new kind of insert as well, or just a different design for the
No,
wheel?
this is there are two inserts now.
Okay.
One is the original, which is a 6.2 millimeter barrel. And then the short one is 3.6 millimeter. Okay, and depending on how much room you have to design, okay, in the front, these are GT3 wheels, and turns out GT3 wheels are very nice to design with because they have a positive offset, okay, or a forward offset, okay. And these particular wheels were designed with the racer sideways dimensions that I got from Mr. Maurer. And I'm hoping that they will, I'm gonna go back through this real quick, if anybody wants to. I'm hoping that they'll work on the NSR as well. I don't know what the size of the NSR dimensions are for the front and rear wheels. If anybody's got that, I'd appreciate that. And then
They're close enough to identical to what the racer is using.
And then I'm also hoping that they will retrofit into the Carrera wheel. Okay, so they're SLS PA 12 nylon, okay, with inserts. Okay.
Carrera's axle one is different to the. So I mean, if you were going to try, I don't know what you mean by retrofitting into Carrera.
Well, you'd have to change all the axles and stuff, change to the like a slot-dotted axle and everything. I mean, axles and wheels, okay? Because the front wheels on the Carrera are just crap, as I understand it. Okay, and Mike is going to be the Mike. Mike is going to be the guinea pig because when I get these printed, I'm going to send some to him to put on his Carrera and his sideways car. So he's going to be the test guy for it.
Yeah. Pretty much anything replacing Carrera wheels will be an improvement.
Well, they're pretty high performance. Okay, they're very fast. Okay?
No, I'm not saying your wheels are bad. I'm saying that's a low bar to pass, is retrofitting Carrera wheels.
Well, truthfully, the Carrera wheels are not that bad. I've got a 720S here. If you look at them.
Oh, the design look of them are, they look cool, but the wheel itself is.
Right, the wheel itself is bad. So if we can just, you can possibly cut down the axles a little bit and get rid of the knurling on the axles. And that will, then you can just bolt them up to that same axle.
Couldn't you just throw the axles away and put new axles in there?
Not necessarily, no. From a performance standpoint, you definitely do that. But since I'm trying to make them equal, and Carreras are so damn much work as it is, it's crazy how much you have to put into it to make them handle decently at all. And they're so top heavy in so many ways that the wheels are a definite benefit. If you could just turn the axles in the chewer a little bit and until they fit, and then put them on the car, that eliminates another thing that you wouldn't have to spend money on.
I would be tempted to say that The only difference between Carrera axles and rusty nails is time and humidity.
But I don't know. I don't have any.
You're
Carrera cars,
probably
but
right. You're probably right. But
Are
I
they the
have been
same?
able to
Are they
do
the
it.
same size, Dennis? I mean,
No,
are
I
they
think the Carrera axles are slightly smaller
slightly smaller?
because I
Okay.
think that they're like 332s on the across where the knurling is,
Okay.
and they're slightly smaller than that. The rest, I seem to remember being
So-
able to put a slotted axle through Carrera bushings and have a much better fit than stock.
Okay. Well, that then that would be
But I
the
can measure it for you if you like.
I mean, I don't
yeah,
think Garth.
that's- see, the idea is that
wants Mike to replace
the
the axles
23
altogether.
what? I'm sorry.
I was saying you want Mike to replace the axles altogether, not
Oh, yeah.
work
Yeah.
on
Oh
Carrera.
yeah, I'd be better
Screw
replacing
it.
the axle.
Screw.
There's no
I mean,
doubt
if you're gonna put some really good fast wheels on the car, you can put good axles.
true
on it.
enough.
What the hell,
Yeah.
you know?
Don't hobble it with bad axles and
You know,
bushings.
you know, goof around with
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
You know.
You're probably right. But for those of us who cheap out every once in a while,
Well,
on
the
some of
wheels are
the-
coming to you for free, so that's pretty
Are they?
free. Yeah.
well,
You're
then
the
I can
mule.
afford to
You're the-
put the.
You're the test mule. You got to do what I say, but now that might be a
All
problem.
right, I'll do that, Garth.
Okay, thank you.
Especially
I'll just say
the
yes
rear.
here.
If it works, the next one is the Mercedes. Okay, because maybe I should.
Yeah.
You know because
Did
that
you
has
do
the same kind of
The
wheel on it.
air wheels
forward.
on those?
The what?
Did
sorry.
you do air wheels for those?
Yes.
Okay,
Every
good. That'll be a good test.
if
for
they
those.
work like I hope they'll work, okay, or that they work for the ones that I have work, okay.
Yeah.
There will always be an air wheel, there'll always be a non-air wheel, and there'll always be a smaller front wheel. Okay. And
That's a
possibly a front
question.
wheel that has no insert. You could very easily make a front wheel without an insert, but
Wayne, you had a question?
Yeah, it was about the air wheel. You know, if the rib in an air wheel is very, very thin on an aluminium wheel, I wondered how wide you'd made it in your nylon versions.
0.4 millimeters. So it's the width of the sponge that Dennis is going to put in there is going to have to be 3.6 millimeters, and the height is, I think the depth is the 17.25 minus 14.95, whatever that is. That'll be the height.
Dennis is gonna cut the ribs down anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dennis-
well, no, it
Dennis-
depends. Yeah,
Dennis
if
can-
the rib is that high, then I might cut them down.
Yeah.
But that's the pocket in the middle might be deeper than the sides, than the edges, by the sound of it. Because if it's 17.25 over the top of the flanges, then the beads along the outside of the tire are going to be 2.5 millimeters smaller than that, so that we 14.75.
Yeah,
Because I think
you
that
can make
they're normally
whatever he wants.
1.25 millimeters high. Those.
The barrel of the wheel, which is what you just described, is 14.95. Same as
Okay.
a sideways wheel or a
Yeah.
slot dot wheel, and the
so-
outside of the rib or the outside of the ribs is 17.25. But you can do whatever the hell you want to it, Dennis. You can cut it down.
Oh,
slice it.
sure. I've already machined air pockets into some of the ones you sent me. So
I'm sure
just
that
haven't
you
used
have.
them yet.
I'm sure that you have. Instead of testing it, you carved it up. But Dennis, I knew that going in. So have fun. Just have fun.
Yeah, I'm having great fun, and
Okay.
I love them. I just want to put them on a scratch built car where I can really use the lack of weight of the wheel. I think that's great. By the way, a Carrera axle is 2.3 millimeters. 2.30.
2.30. Okay.
So it's smaller than a NSR or
Slotted.
slotted. The slotted so 2.38 and the
Well, as long
NSR
as,
the
as long as you could
2.37.
reasonably change them out to a slot dielet or a drill blank axle, that would be pretty cool then, right?
Mhm. Yeah, as I say, there's always enough clearance in Carrera bushings that you can put the bigger axle in if you change the wheels, because of the fact that the ends of the Carrera axles are knurled, so they have to have space in the bushing to
Now,
push them over the knurling.
I'm just wondering if, talking about wheels, I'm wondering if Chris had the opportunity. I know Chris wasn't here last week. Did you have an opportunity to watch the chat last week, Chris? Because Dennis showed some of the wheels and inserts that I sent him on the chat. I don't know if
I
Chris
haven't
has seen.
watched last week yet. No.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I did too was I modified one set of wheels so far to take aluminum inserts that I use for my ball bearing wheels, which don't have as big of a collar on them and they don't have a set screw, and they will work great for independently rotating wheels.
So you're
So I
saying
got-
I need more wheels? Is that what you're saying? You know?
No, I'm fine for now, thank you.
So maybe Phil can answer this as part of his show and tell. But one of the guys on YouTube asked you guys down under, is there a pledge with Future Shine or a future floor product that you can get down under that's similar to what we always talk about?
I will make one comment about it. I hate the stuff.
Which obviously means that it's available down there.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It was available at one stage, and they changed the product. It's by Johnson's.
Yeah.
I tried the original one on a car. Was stupid enough to clear coat one car with it that I'd painted. And as you race it, it absorbs the moisture off your hands and becomes sticky.
Yeah.
So I used Windex, cleaned it all off, and did it properly. As Chris said, you want a really decent clear coat to protect your car. I think I used Tester's Decal Bonder eventually over it, and that works really well, which is now getting very hard to get. So that's my experience with Future Pledge, whatever you want to call it.
No.
Don't like it. Yeah,
No, I
don't like
mean,
it at all.
Future has great uses. It's great for
On your floor.
windshields. It's great for windshields, and it's great for headlight covers. It's great for removing small scratches. It is. I've had several cars, but at the shop, guys have covered them in the Future. We use lane stickers on the front of the car. You pull the lane sticker off, the Future comes off, and all the decals come off underneath. So I'm quite patient when I clear coat, probably more patient than most. So I think Tamiya paints, which are completely, formulated for plastics, are the best. The most foolproof, but they're very hot. It's a synthetic lacquer. So if you like to finish your cars in an hour, it's probably not for you. So probably the best clear coat out there right now is made by Mr. Hobby. Mr. Hobby spray can stuff. It will not, it's not very hot, and it dries up nice and hard. So it does a really good job. But Future, anyone who puts Future, if you put Future on a slot car and you put it in the case and you're not going to touch it, it's passable. But don't put Future on a car and think you're going to drive it around.
Yeah, that's my experience as well. So I'm all right because I use automotive paints on all my cars, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like an answer. What did you want to show and tell, Phil?
Oh, yeah, well, we're talking about cars. I've actually got a new old car here.
Okay.
That's a Fly from, I think, about 2006.
Yeah.
And I had one many years ago, which is still around, but unfortunately, I set it up and entered it in a global proxy race back in 2007, and travelled around the world a bit and did a fair bit of racing with it. Went all right in Italy. And when this other one cropped up on eBay, I thought, oh, well, I'll put a bid in it for the minimum amount, and got the bloody thing. So that'll be a shelf queen. Sorry, Greg.
I admit I've got one or two, but only because I have the same car on the track already.
I bet you they're blue and yellow too.
One of them is. The other one's a Dukes of Hazzard. I accidentally ordered two, so I ended up with a shelf queen.
The other thing is, after seeing Jim Rose's review of the tyre cleaner, I printed one out.
Is that your own design or oh?
That's my design.
It's your design. Okay.
Yeah.
Guess then price there for the contacts.
Oh, sorry.
For the battery contacts.
Yeah. The battery. Yeah, I'm going to alter that. That's just some folded brass put in there for the battery contacts.
Yeah.
But to get one from, I think a slot car corner works out about $80 Australian, so they're a bit over the top by the time you get them here with freight and all.
Yeah.
But it proved very useful, because when we went racing Tuesday night, the host track had a few issues because he'd braided it, put Magna braid down a few months ago and hadn't cleaned the slots out properly. All right, with shallow guides, as soon as we put cars on with routed guides, they stopped going around the track. So after about half an hour of frantic work by him, he managed to fix the slots, but also covered the track in dust and crap and all the rest of it. So for the first race we ran on that night, we were stopping and cleaning tyres about every 10 or 15 laps. So my little tyre truer got its batteries flattened very quickly because everyone was grabbing it off me and using it. So I've now got a couple more to print out for the guys in the club. So anyhow, it proved quite useful the other night, and I was surprised just how easy it was to use. So yeah.
What did you put for what the tires are hitting? Did you use?
Oh, sorry, I've just got a bit of cloth which isn't there at the moment because one of the guys managed to destroy it on Tuesday night.
Okay.
That's all, but it's just a bit of cleaning cloth that I had here and put on to try it, and I was surprised it worked so well. And it really does save some time. If you've got to clean your tyres under the green, it's certainly very, very quick. Taking about a quarter of a lap on it out of, so it's about 2 seconds. Yeah, so I think a lot of the guys will be turning up with them now. So yeah, no, it's good. That's for sure. That's all I've got anyhow.
All right, good looking design and obviously a useful product and.
Yeah. As I said, I like the one that's on Slot Car Corner for sale, but it's just prohibitive to get them over here. That's for sure. The postage from the States is astronomical. That's for sure. Yeah. All right, that's all I've got. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Phil. And Dennis put his hand back up. Did you want to do Club Corner? Or do you have something show and tell?
No, it's show and tell. I'm not done with Garth and his wheels. Hold on a mo. Let me just change my camera.
Okay.
I can change over the camera.
Stop moving.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean,
What is?
Yeah, no camera now.
All right, there you go. So these were the wheels where I machined the air pocket myself. This damn camera does not focus that close. I hope you can see that. There you go.
Yep.
And then, all right, then what I did on the front wheels is I actually just flattened the back surface, right? And I put a little, a very small recess into the back surface. And I used some of these, which I have plenty of, which is a little aluminum sleeve that I use in my ball bearing wheels, and I just cut the end off where that little hole is. I don't need that, and pressed it in, and so it's flush with the back surface, and then it's all the way through to the front, and it rotates beautifully nice and smooth independently on a 332 axle.
Beautiful.
And
Beauty.
it's all.
How does it stay on the axle?
Oh, then I'll put for example, I would put a keeper on the outside edge, or I would have an axle with a thread on it and a little nut on the outside to hold them on.
Okay. That makes sense.
But yeah, Garth, I'd certainly, I'll think about some of the 720S wheels with the air pockets in them. I'm just a little confused that the air pocket's only 3.6 millimeters wide, because if the flange is 5 millimeters wide across the outside, and each of those little shoulder or the little splines pieces that are left are 0.4 millimeters thick, then you should have 4.2 millimeters on the inside.
That was confusing me too, because I'd done the same mathematics.
That's arithmetic, not even mathematics.
But maybe that was
maybe I screwed up. Okay, hang on.
Yeah.
Or maybe you did it for your front wheels or something, or
Doesn't matter, but I mean, because I cut these to about 0.5 millimeter wide, so I have just on 4 millimeters on the inside, which is really nice, and those flanges are plenty strong still. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's machined on my lathe, so it's actually quite easy to machine this stuff. You just have to, I pressed in the sleeve on the back, and then when I chucked it in the lathe, I actually clamped it on the sleeve itself, on the aluminum, and then I machined down the nylon, and it cuts beautifully. No problem whatsoever.
Cool.
Dennis,
What's that weigh, Dennis?
Hold on, I'll grab a scale and tell you. Hold on.
We could play a nice little game here. What's it actually going to weigh? I'm going to go for 0.95 grams.
How much?
My money's on about 0.95.
less than a gram.
It depends on the weight of the aluminium insert, because that's the piece I have no experience of.
0.5. 0.5 of a gram.
So what do we? What bits do we have so far?
With the aluminum insert, you guys are including the aluminum insert, right? So the nylon wheel and the insert, in order to mount it on an axle, Wayne said 0.95 grams, and Jeremy said 0.5 grams, and Jim said 0.8 grams. Looks like Jim's
number is
0.74.
Jim wins.
That's the winner. You see, that's lighter than most stock aluminium wheels out of the packets from most manufacturers.
Now, the interesting part is that the front wheel, which is the same width, but it doesn't have the pocket machined in it, and has a slightly smaller sleeve in it, is actually a little heavier at 0.77.
The plastic.
Well, yeah.
I just measured the CAD drawing, okay, and it's 0.7, Dennis, the rib width. I was wrong.
Okay.
But I haven't printed a wheel, so I don't know if I can make that small.
Not a lot of difference.
Yeah, my suggestion on that would be to make that rib width as small as it can be without snapping off.
Well, if I had a nylon printer in my garage, maybe I could, figure that out, but it's going to take a little bit of time for me to,
Yeah, you just have to shave it down with the next batch and just make a decision whether that's as thin as it can go or whether it could go smaller. But I'd be aiming for, I know I've measured it on aluminium wheels, and it's 0.1, and it will cut you if you've got it on the tire truer.
Well, this is a printed product. It's not a machined.
Yeah, I reckon you could go down to 0.3 and then see whether or not snap off.
Well, if you know that, you're smarter than I am, Wayne.
No, I didn't say I know anything about it. I would say try it down there.
Thank you. I will,
I mean, you could just
And
send off.
and if you want to send me some money, we'll try it once or twice.
I mean, you don't have to do a whole set of thin flanged ones. You do a set of your regular ones and then add in 2 or 3 individual wheels with different thickness of the ribs and see.
The ribs on
that's a good point. That's a good point.
The ribs on an NSR wheel are 0.35.
Really?
0.1 sounded pretty small, pretty
No,
low.
0.1
What
is
is
no way.
what
that
did you
0.1.
machine your Dennis on the one you machined? What are they on? What did you machine?
0.5. 0.5.
0.5. Okay.
And to me, that's perfect.
Greg, you brought up a great point. It's just as easy to make it a couple different sizes and get them and order them all at one time. Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Just one of each. See which one is.
And because
is a failure point.
The beauty of this is even from a prototype standpoint. I mean, Dennis, we can get these wheels for 50 cents. Okay, in 7 days.
Yeah.
So
amazing.
It is amazing. Okay, I think I'm just waiting for them to shut the door on that. So, but
your current ones are 0.4, right, Garth?
The one that I got
0.7
is 0.7. Okay, and it's 3.6
0.7
wide spacing thing. So
okay, but the thickness of the flange that we're talking about is 0.7 or 0.4?
0.7 right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dennis was correct. I had my math screwed up. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure you could go thinner than that.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
Greg, I'm all weirded out about making thin pieces of plastic hanging out in the air from my PET.
Yeah, from the FDM. Yeah.
From the
SLS is a whole different monster. I would go ahead and send off a set of wheels where it goes 0.7, 0.65, 0.6, 0.55, 0.5, and see where the failure point is. How low can you go before it's, untenable?
Thank you for that. And Wayne, thank you for your contribution as well.
If you bring the 1.25, if you bring the 1.25 down to less than 1, then it will hang out in the breeze far less, and you'll have far less leakage on it.
Just be quiet, Wayne, or I'm going to show him Wayne's video. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm sure we'll hear some news about wheel testing in the future.
Well, didn't Dennis just say he machined that rib to a narrower spec?
Are you going to try to machine that down again, Dennis, or leave it at 0.5? You're muted. You are muted, sir. Dennis, you are muted.
Damn it. I try to mute and stay away from it. I'm going to leave him at 0.5 because a 4 millimeter width for the insert is perfect for me. Well, that's what I've used on many others. So that's fine.
So you took it to 0.4.
Hey, Dennis, do you want to? Dennis, would
feel any weakness there?
Hang on, there's 2 people talking.
All right, hold on, Garth. Go ahead, Brian.
So you took the rib from 0.7 to 0.4?
No. The wheels that I had no pocket, so I machined the whole pocket. And when I machined the pocket, I machined machined the flanges to 0.5 because there are 5 millimeters on the outside of that center section of the rim. And so I machined inside that and left a 0.5 millimeter wall on each side so that I had a 4 millimeter air pocket in the middle.
So you feel those that 0.5 is plenty strong?
Yeah.
So Garth, you might want to just start there at 0.5. I mean, he's already proven there's integrity there. Now, if printing them that thin causes an issue, that could be something else. But it sounds like at least 0.5 would be plenty of strength.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of.
I agree. Hey, Dennis, can I assume that would you like to be part of the test? Okay, the NSR part of the test. You got an NSR 720S? But
I have,
there are stipulations. I send you wheels, you put them on on a car without
Sure.
modifying.
how many
Other
how
than
many 720Ss do you want? I have an NSR, I have a sideways, and I have a Carrera.
No, I just want to know, I want to know if this wheel.
Yeah.
or a group of
Of
these
course.
wheels will fit
Absolutely.
on an
No
NSR
problem
and-
whatsoever.
Okay, so you're included then.
Yes.
You
I'm
and Nomad Mike, so you guys, all right.
Okay.
All right. Your testing base has widened. Let's move on and see what Scott has to share.
Hi guys. Hopefully I've not misunderstood the spirit of this sharing section. So a few things to quickly flash in front of you. This Fly 934, one of those models that I didn't need. I've got a few of them anyway, but I really like the livery, so I hit the buy button, and it's absolutely lovely. I have to say, really pleased with it. Usual for me Fly problem that the front axle, the inside of the front tire slightly catches on the bottom of the chassis. So far I've just teased the tires out a little bit of the rim. I haven't attacked it with any files or anything because that would be too much like tuning from my point of view. But I've got it running really nicely. But it's a lovely thing, and it was classic example of I'm buying the same piece of plastic with a microscopically thin, different layer of paint on it, but it's lovely. Most of what I did, I was away on holiday. I was actually in the US last week, and I didn't join you live, as it were, because I was at my nephew's high school graduation party. So, but I dug out some old cars. I wanted to have the track up in my shed, and I dug out some old cars that I haven't run for a long time. And it was old Nincos, and I laughed earlier on. Someone mentioned about, I think it was Dennis saying he bought an Ninco. These are very old Nincos. I've got, so this is the Alpha DTM car, and I've got the Calibra and the Mercedes. I think those are the only ones they did of this era. And the great thing, given the problem we have with modern Scaleauto and Carrera, where the rear tires go off practically as you're watching, is this 20-year-old car, something like that. On the track, pull the trigger, goes just as well as it did 20 years ago. Grips, fantastic. So I don't know what they've changed in the formulation and bits of rubber, but they ought to go back to the old ones. But great fun, a little underpowered. I mean, it's a tiny little motor, and it really did need to be cranked up to 12 volts. Normally, I run my track on 9 because it's fast enough. It's a little polycarb track. Put these up to 12 and they start dancing. So I was then in the kind of touring car mood, so I kept digging. And I found I forgot this even existed, let alone that I owned it, which I think is quite a nice surprise. I don't know if you guys ever do that as well. Maybe I've just got too many cars. It's a Honda. It's an SCX Honda touring car. Really dull livery. I don't know why I bought it, but I did, and I'm glad I did, and that's probably why I forgot it. Sorry, I keep it. But it was kind of, I think it's roughly on par with that Ninco car. Again, the more volts you put through it, the faster it will go. Not as nice as the Ninco, but probably more detailed model, but it goes quite nicely. And then rummaging even further in the touring car box, I found this, which is an SCX Seat Leon, I think. Now, it was from a set. I used to visit Spain fairly regularly for work, and I would go and visit, particularly Palau. I don't know if any of you heard of the shop in Barcelona, the Palau shop, which was like a mecca for swear. It's a lovely old shop. I think it's closed now, unfortunately. But anyway, so I would go and I would buy stuff when I was there. So Spanish cars from a Spanish shop, all of it. This thing, my memory of it is it ran terribly. The rear wheels went round, the axle wasn't straight, all that usual stuff. But I took it apart, lubed a few things, pushed the tyres more square on the axles, and actually, it's not bad. It's not bad. It goes quite nicely. But it's kind of one of those things, as you probably might know, it's a bit of a thing with me where actually there's as much fun and joy taking a 20-year-old slightly crap slot car and running it around the track as there is a slightly newer and slightly more expensive slot car and running it around the track. So that was me. That was kind of That's where I had my fun this week.
Yeah.
On the track,
I mean, you know, once you get to that like more than 100 cars point, pretty much anytime you actually look through your stash of cars, you're gonna find a car that you haven't touched for ages, and you're gonna be like, I wonder if it's like I remember. And then it either is or it isn't, but it's still a discovery that's always fun.
It's, yeah, as I say, there's almost as much joy as unwrapping a new one. Yeah.
All right, awesome. Go ahead.
Those Ninco touring cars, like the Alpha, I mean, those were like the very first cars that heralded the new genre of slot cars. In that they were the first ones that I remember seeing that had lots of detail that looked really good, right? And I mean, they look like toys now if we look at them, which just tells you how far we've come with the tamper printing and the detail that everybody puts into their cars. But at the time that those came out, there was almost nothing like that, and everybody was saying, "Wow, look at these things! Aren't they pretty?" And none of us knew anything about it. You know, we were running old blobs and things, and the Scaleauto cars of that era were pretty horrible by comparison.
The big revelation when these came was, you're right about the detail, though I think SCX bodies had similar level of detail. I'm thinking like the 288 GTO and the 037, those were probably at this level. But the thing which these were amazing was just the relative handling compared to a Scaleauto car. This would stay in the slot pretty much no matter how much you abused going in and out the corner, and therefore lapped pretty quickly. So they were, at the time, they were a real revelation. And I think fairly quickly after that, my visits to Spain, I got my first fly car with a magnet in it. And I remember going into the first one was the Viper, which wasn't that, for the time it was a strong magnet, but it didn't last. The second one was the Volturi, and the magnet in that was so strong that when I went into Palau, they had a small oval screwed to the underside of a shelf, and the car was running round on the underside because the magnet was so strong it would defy gravity. Which at the time we all thought, wow, this is amazing, must have this, this is the future. Now every car I get, I take the magnet out it, curse the damn thing. But anyway.
And like you mentioned earlier, that John's got his out. And
is that a Ninco, John, or is that Scaleauto?
It's like the same one you had. I know.
Yes, it is an Ninco.
Nicer wheels.
Yeah, different wheels.
Henry still races those things. He has a championship that runs those things in digital form on his Carrera track.
In C1.
Yeah, they were a great club class.
C1.
Yeah.
And back then they used actual rubber instead of whatever kind of vinyl compound they're using on cheap cars these days.
Well, Ninco had a background in producing toy grade RC cars, didn't they? So they used to be able to produce tires. So I would have thought that they would have transferred that knowledge across to what they made the flock car.
I'm sure they made bad tires at some point, but I can't think of a Ninco car I have that has bad tires.
I'd be intrigued to know something about their resilience, because with their track system, the tires that you need to use need to have some serious resilience about them, because that track just eats tires, the modern tires anyway.
I'd love to think they tested that, Wayne, but I doubt they did. I suspect it was just a happy accident.
And without those neodymium magnets, track like Carrera and Scaleauto Sport wouldn't be tenable for most cars. You got to have really good rubber, which didn't exist when they invented those tracks, or really strong magnets to hold their crappy tires down to the smooth track surface to get them going around.
Interesting, you should bring that up, Greg, because the very first digital race I think I ever did was on Scaleelectric Sport with stock Scaleelectric tires and no magnet. And let me tell you, everybody thought that was going to be a complete nightmare. And with the correct screwing and a little bit of oiling, everything worked reasonably well. The speeds were nothing like wood track, nothing like high magnet, but they were adequate.
Yeah,
for
but you
6 cars
trued them.
with 2 lanes.
You trued them and oiled them, though.
Yeah, you just, I mean, it's still a Scaleelectric rubber, you know, it's not a great rubber.
Yeah, no,
you can't get, you know, you can't get the grip you can with a lot of other things, but it wasn't as bad as we all expected it to be.
Yeah, Scaleelectric rubber's not that bad. It's definitely better than Carrera. It's not the worst out there for sure. Better than a lot of fly tires. But as soon as you sand and oil them, they get a whole lot better. So that doesn't surprise me. If they had just taken the magnets out and slapped the cars on the track, then it would have been the nightmare that everybody was expecting. Skating all over the place. Anywho, I think we're done with show and tell. Does anybody else have anything they want to show and or tell before we move on?
Yeah, just a quick thing, Greg. Someone was asking about the equivalent of Future here in Australia. It's a product called Long Life that they sell now, if anyone really is desperate and wants to try it, which is probably available around the supermarkets or Bunnings for anyone here in Australia.
I think you guys suitably convinced them to forego.
Hope so. Hope so. I mean, you put a lot of effort into finishing a car. You really don't want a crap clear coat on it.
That explains my experience with it. I thought I was just doing something wrong, but nope. Apparently not.
It's not just my opinion then.
No, as soon as Chris said what he was, as soon as you said that it gets sticky when you touch it too much, and I was like, wow, that's exactly what happened to me.
Yeah, it absorbs the moisture out of your skin.
Yeah, and yeah, Shelf Queens Future is for Shelf Queens, not race cars.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And for windshields.
And for windshields and headlights to scratchify them.
Yep.
All right, Garth, what you got?
Oh, okay.
While we got Dennis,
to share, Chris?
Sorry?
Did you have something you wanted to do show and tell on, Chris?
Yeah, sort of briefly. I've been building a lot of, been building quite a few cars to be sending to Australia, actually.
That's what I was hinting at earlier.
Sorry?
That's what I was hinting at earlier.
Well, I sent off a bunch. This is the latest.
Yep.
Is that there? No?
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty.
Yeah, it's the guys specified they really didn't want anything too intricate in terms of a paint job, which really made me fairly happy because this was fairly easy to do. The last one I sent down, the guy set a I'll get a picture of the chassis, which is a little more impressive than the, at least you can see something. So pretty much the standard MR slot car chassis plate, but I'm using the new Sidewinder pods in there and lots of other little bits and pieces. So, and this is running on the slotted G25 tires, which we've done a couple of hundred pairs now in the shop, and they're wonderful. I really, really like these tires. They work
Have you
great.
found a nice way to grind them?
Well, I did a couple of pairs this morning. This pair I did yesterday, and it took me like 10 minutes, Dennis.
Okay.
I haven't had any problems with them at all, and the grip has been spectacular. So I sent them some tires. I sent them some tires about a month and a half ago, and they were G25s with foam and Trude and done and stuff like that. He took the tires, he called us at the shop and said he just set a lap record on the new tires. And so anyways, this is going down to a couple of the clubs in Australia for their, this one goes in their open classification. I did another one, which is a GT classification, and there's a few more restrictions on what you can do, but this one's got all the silicone washers underneath the pod arms and in between the body and chassis plate and all the rest of the stuff. So anyways, for what it is, now it's gone.
Nice.
All right.
25K in it would probably go well. Yeah.
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 And of course, just immaculate everything, immaculate lead, immaculate wiring, immaculate everything. As
Well, it's a race car. It's a race car. I mean, if you go look at a Formula One car, they look nice. They don't have there's no Scotch tape on a Formula One car.
That's fair.
Well, not before a race anyway.
Not until the driver puts it over a few curbs and knocks a few strakes off.
All right, Garth, go ahead.
While we still have Dennis and Wayne here, I want to show the this thing here. Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah, that's good. That's a bit weak, isn't it? I remember that one.
This is Dennis. This is Wayne's widow. We designed this about a year ago, and Wayne, I think you even tried to print it, didn't you? But it wouldn't work, and he couldn't find a nylon printer. But
That's
I'm trying
correct.
to try this on nylon, so maybe we can make Wayne's widow into Dennis's widow. You know, it's a homage to the Black Widow. Okay, so, but this thing, this can't weigh spit. Okay, you know what I mean? We've got 4 holes in it.
Make it happen.
Yeah, that certainly doesn't turn me on in terms of the spoke design.
So
I'm like you guys. I love these GT3 wheels where the spokes are all on the outside edge and not on the inside edge. I'm not a great fan of deep dish wheels.
It's on the outside edge. He was looking at the back of the wheel.
The point
I
I'm
would
trying to
think-
make is the point.
I was
that
gonna say,
was
I would
trying
think
to-
on those wheels, when the rubber is squeezing down on it, it would over time it would kind of bend inward because there's only like 4 spokes supporting the backside.
Not if
I would be
it's designed-
structurally
No,
worried about it.
The spokes were in the front side. You were looking at the back of the wheel.
Either way, this is how spokes.
The point is that Wayne wanted a wheel that weighed, less than 0. Okay.
Yeah.
So but the idea, okay, is super low weight. So we could make that a center, a center offset or a forward offset or whatever the hell you want it. You know what I mean? So.
I actually don't. I'm not responsible for the design of it at all. Garth decided it was going to be 4 spokes, and he just put holes in everything. He put holes in the barrel.
You said
holes
no,
in
yeah,
the
but
spokes.
You said no weight.
It was all just one request, wasn't it? Make the wheel as light as possible.
What I want to know is, when did you 2 guys get married?
You haven't stayed back after the chats. It's not myself. It's Mike. I'm sorry to say. I've been replaced.
Ask those kind of questions, Dennis.
All right, moving on. Are you done, Garth?
I guess so.
Okay, so let's do Club's Corner first. You want to talk about your racing past, present, or future activities? Now is the time to get your hand up, and we'll talk about it. And Big Den put his hand up, so go ahead, Big Den.
Oh, I'm unmuted.
There you go.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, firstly, thanks to Phil for stealing my thunder on the Australian version of pledge/finish /whatever. I'll just go and share a screen here if I can get back to square one. So, are we coming up?
I've already moved on to square 2. We're still waiting on square 1 here.
Oh.
There we go.
So it is there, is it?
It's coming.
That's Christmas.
Said you've started screen sharing, but we don't see a picture
Yeah,
yet.
okay. I've got a Zoom meeting thing saying not responding here at the moment, which is great.
Well, if it's not responding, do you want me to end your screen share?
Yeah, you can do.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, it's not doing a whole lot for. There we go. Okay, yeah, well, I guess we're overrunning Zoom.
Yeah, I'm still. Yeah. If you can still hear me, I might have to restart Zoom and come back so someone else could go ahead.
All right, go do what you need to do, and we'll get you when you come back. Go ahead, Dewan.
Okay. This past weekend we had a team race for the Far Out Slot Car Club, and so I can bring it up here. I was kind of. Does it say? Oh yeah, screen share. How about put the yeah, that goes. Come on.
Shall we move on to Mike? Getting warnings on YouTube as well. You getting there, Dewan?
Was it showing?
We're waiting on something to pop up. Nothing's popping up.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay. That's odd. I thought I was playing.
Are you playing a video? That would explain why you're just kind of watching it. We're all sitting here waiting for something.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, let me just go to not do the video. I'll just do the screen capture here. 1 second.
Okay.
Let me stop the share. That was pretty odd. I thought I was playing. Sorry about that. Stop that share, and let's do it a different way.
We're doing it live.
Well, I was saying we had a team race, which we ended up with a group of about 14 members, and so we were doing 4 groups, and it's supposed to be 4 in a team, so we had to have about 2 people kind of double up. Let's see. Is this that's showing the screen?
Yep, Steven's track.
Yep. So that's Stephen Farjones' track out in Glendale, and everyone, this pretty infamous track with all the scenery, the insane amount of scenery, and it's a huge display of cars. But anyway, it was a team race where we raced 11 minutes with 45 minutes on each lane, and with the 4 team members, we had 11 minutes per person, and do a hot swap handover of the controller. Same car stays on each of the 4 lanes. And for the team race itself, doing that screen share, so make sure I get the right. We had, stop that and go back. So I was gonna give you the results.
You want me to stop your share again, or?
I think I just stopped it, and let me just go back to the results. We have the results page here. There we go. I couldn't find it. And those were the yeah. So those are the matchup of the teams, and I was on Team B, and we had trouble in the red and the white lane. The white lane was the best lane of all lanes, and I can't imagine. I think I had more trouble in that lane, but in practice it was like flawless. And then when the race started, that's when I stopped. But anyway, I think I grouped us up in the white lane. We were doing pretty good competitive for the other lanes. We ended up in fourth place, 30 laps behind the first place team. But I think, yeah, that we really caught hell in the red lane and the white lane. But outside of that, it was pretty good.
Did good in green and orange, yeah.
Yeah, did pretty good. Okay, that's pretty much it for me today.
Them's the breaks.
You stop my screen share.
I got you. Okay. All right, thanks, Dewan. And Big Dan, are you ready to take another stab at it?
Here's take two.
All righty.
Righto.
Back to square one, take two.
Yep, that's it. Now all I need to do is find the thing I'm sharing. Give me a break here. Right. Here we go. I've got 3 pictures. Here we go. Let's see if that's the one. Okay. Yeah, so as you're all seeing now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So as at the risk of incurring the wrath of Mr. Walker, Mr. Council and Mr. Galb, it is indeed called Long Life. Available at our famous Bunnings hardware stores here for about what used to be $12 a bottle is now $14 a bottle, post-COVID prices. Okay, so moving on to the next. So this is sort of a bit of show and sell before the club corner starts. So the next one for Mike, I brought this up some 179 shows ago. That at our local J-Car electronics store, you can get these 3.5. It says 3mm nylon nuts and washers. It's a one piece. But the inside bore is 2.5 millimeters, which is suits your Ninko axle perfectly. So that's basically de facto Ninko nylon bearings, which you can glue in the front, Mike, to stop your front axle slop. Yeah, so I'm not sure what your equivalent store is over in the States or not. So now actually on to some racing. And last Saturday we had 7 races turn up, which was our best showing for quite a while. The winning car there was a very, very nice white kit job by our host Dave, and he duly saluted and won the race. In the results will show you that I had the race from hell. First heat, I started off by rolling a tyre that I'd previously re-glued. So I'm not sure what went wrong with the re-gluing process. So I swapped to another car, did 4 laps before the lead wire broke, and then finally got going in the last heat and got 26. But as we would say in Australia, I ran stone motherless last. And if you think that was bad, when I finished my race, probably a couple of heats before the end of the race, you think it was I had all the misfortune there. When we went to take the photo for the that you just saw of the lineup for the cars, I'd lost my car. I couldn't find it anywhere. So I'd actually put something, someone had put something over the top of it, and it took us about 10 minutes to find the car before we could take the shot. So anyway, from there the day had nowhere to go but up. So moving along to GT1/LMP. We had a mixture of Ninkos and not Ninkos, Revo slots and slotted cars there. So a couple of, and on that one, my white Toyota managed to finish second, just a lap behind the winner. So happy with that one. And then moving along, what's wrong with this picture is that you won't see the car that got the most laps in the picture there, because it wasn't a sideways Group 5 car. It was a car that the guy ran by invitation because his sideways car wasn't sort of seized up or something just before racing. So in the results, you'll see that in the legitimate runners, that Dave, Leon and I all finished on 81 laps. I'm not quite sure how far I was behind the other two, because I didn't think I was anywhere in the picture really for the results, and I was quite surprised at the end of the race I did the same, because it was the first time I'd ever run that car. But Leon, with a slowing car, actually beat Dave by about 10 centimetres, so closest of close races. So, and I think that's the end of the, that's just the other thing. So I'll stop the share. I'll just grab up my notes here. Oh yeah, about losing my car after the end of race one. It was quite concerning. As I just sort of paid $200 for my 6 monthly optometrist check, and I'm not sure whether his version of the state of my eyes was actually correct. Now I'm thinking of getting a second opinion after losing a slot car.
Somebody hid it under something. That's
but the somebody was probably me.
They'd probably starting having afternoon tea before they finished. Oh, that's more like Greg. That's more like it. I usually
Dennis, that white Toyota that was yours. What kind of car is that? Is that
that's a Revo slot Toyota GT1. Yeah, it was a white kitten, so I painted it white, and I was just looking.
Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it was just sort of a takeoff of an IMSA scheme from about 1990s, around that one. So so it looks all right, not bad for. It was probably one of my first ever home livery attempts, Garth. Dennis was mentioning just a little while ago about Carrera axles being a little bit undersized compared to some of the others. One thing I have found is when I've tried true Carrera wheels, the axles are that bright, shiny steel. Very hard to get the pulley of the tyre truer to stay, to get a grip on it. They seem to, after a couple of minutes of trying to true something, the pulley works less because it's that shiny, hard steel that won't seem to grip. So there's just an additional sort of thing that I found with the Carrera axles.
Maybe you need to have a look at the set screw that you're using in your pulley, and either get a knurled point or a cup point set screw.
Geez, I tell you what, Dennis,
I've never had the problem. So
yeah, I've never had enough trouble finding a set screw for it, let alone to find one with a special point on it. We in Australia we can be a bit of an industrial backwater for some of the things you guys take for granted. And
my tire truer came from Australia. It's an area, one of those Area 5 ones, or Area 3 or whatever.
Well, that's the same as mine. Yeah, but the guy who I bought it off had lost the grub screw.
It's a 3mm set screw that's in there.
Yeah. It'll probably come out of a Revo slot car or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit longer though. You need a fairly lengthy one.
Interesting too. The last word on the pledge/future/long life is that's what Pato recommends for his decals when he sells them to you. Maybe so you can buy another set of him. I don't know.
The trouble is, Dennis, he doesn't ask the right people about grub screws. being an ex-engineer like yourself, I keep a pretty good supply here of all the grub screws that suit these cars. But people don't ask, you know, you don't go run around telling them that you've got them here.
Yeah, but you're usually half tanked by the time I get a chance to talk to you.
Whose fault's that?
Dennis, I'll ask you a question. You may or may not know the answer. Recently, Marco did a tear down of Todd Ullery's Mercedes CLK.
Yeah.
In which Todd had spaced out the rear bearing holders. He put spaces under them to lower the chassis effectively.
Yeah.
Do you know whether he used a longer screw a longer screw to put those bearing holders back in to compensate for that 1 millimeter or in between the chassis and the?
I really don't know, but I would expect probably not if it's only 1 millimeter.
Yeah, I just thought that there doesn't seem to be a lot of those screws aren't very long. That's all I was wondering.
Yeah, there's not a lot of. I can ask him the next time. Yeah, but the next time I see him. But I really don't know what he used, and I don't think that Marco would have thought about that.
Yeah,
but
okay, yeah, that'll do me for today then. Okay, so
I'm gonna segue into a quick club corner for me from Dennis Big Den, saying he's had a hard time finding parts. I wanted to get some more motor mounting screws, so of course I went to the slot car retailers. I'm like, man, that's a lot of money for just a few little screws. Like I could probably get more for less if I know what to look for, but they didn't have the actual spec of the screw. So I had to go to the Slotted website to get the spec, which I didn't already know off the top of my head, which some of you already know. It's M2 for most of these motors that we play with, and 4 millimeters long, so that they're not too long, obviously, to interfere with the motor. So once I knew M2 4 millimeters, well, then it was easy peasy to search around on Amazon, and I found these guys with these super, super thin, flat heads, and basically got a pack of 200 of these little guys for like $7 or $8 or something like that, with Prime, with no shipping and everything. So I had so many of these that I basically went to the guys in the club and said, anybody want some motor mounting screws? Because basically our club rules basically say, motor must be secured, right? And a lot of the cars don't come with the motor mounting screws. So I'm just giving them away like candy. I'm like, here, have 10 screws, have 10 screws. You're going to use them at some point. So that was fun, giving away screws. The other thing is I wanted to talk a little bit about what I did to the car last week. I went over what I did to my Scaleauto BTCC BMW, and the results last week were very positive, but we were on Roger's plastic track, Scaleauto Sport. So I didn't know how well these things would work on the wood track, specifically the one that was having problems the week before that. But this week we're on a wood track, different wood track, but made by the same guy. So same construction and surface and same paint and everything. And it performed beautifully. It was still nice and smooth, no stutters, no hopping around out of acceleration and out of the turns and everything. And last week, I think I mentioned this, but at the end of the race, I showed some of the other guys that had the BMW what I did so that they could repeat and get improvement on their car as well, which was basically shaving the little tabs off of the chassis and off the body, opening up the screw holes for the body, and a couple other little bits here and there. One of the guys had time to do those things over the last week, and his car was running much better as well. One of the other guys did not have any time, and his car was just hopping all over the place. And at one point during the race, I said, you know what? I'm going to take your car when you're not running a heat. I'm going to take your car and do these mods. And basically, like between two heats, I took his car, took it apart, cut off the tabs, opened up the screw holes, and did a couple of little things with just a Stanley knife blade in my hand to do these things. And his car it was metamorphical. It did all the right things just by doing those very, very minor modifications. just so that the body and the chassis weren't so securely held together by all those little bits. And there wasn't even a whole lot of float, just they weren't clamshelled together so badly. It just makes such a big difference. Which you guys are always telling us. So proof in the pudding, I guess. The pudding has been tasted and it tasted good. And I don't know how well I did because there were a few early offs. We race crash and burn, so an early off is pretty devastating. I had a couple that were not my fault and a couple that were my fault, so I didn't even bother looking at the end of the race standings, but it was still fun.
Good for you. What are you allowed to do those, Greg? Anything?
Our rules basically allow sanding to promote float within
Yeah.
reason. So like you can't see a massive gap around the chassis and the body. So basically that's what I did. Other than that, the only thing we could do aside from gluing in motor and gluing in bushings was true and glue the rear tires with Paul Gauge. We were running Paul Gauge tires.
Okay.
Otherwise,
So,
pretty
when you
stock.
say gluing, when you say gluing bushings, are you allowed to put glue in the bushings or just glue the bushings in?
I have not ventured that. I don't like doing that because I don't trust that I'll be able to do it without permanently getting them stuck.
It's dead simple, Greg. Dead
Is it-
simple.
They're not going to get stuck together.
You're not going to get, no, just take everything out, clean everything off, put it on a power supply, run it at a volt or two, just so the back wheels are turning over. Apply a drop of oil to each wheel bushing, and then get a toothpick and use like plain white clear CA, and just touch the toothpick to the bushing and the axle, and that'll wick in. Do not let it stop. Just let it run for a minute or so. Do one side at a time, and it takes all the slop out of those crummy bushings.
Makes a huge difference on your engine.
Yeah, I've been aware of that trick, but I've never tried it.
It works golden tree. If you carry on, you can actually build up. You can actually build up a stopper of super glue, which will stop your crown gear moving left and right.
Oh yeah, that's good. Good idea.
Like a little flange, effectively.
Yeah, I could probably get that. I could probably make that happen. It probably falls within the letter of the rules, if not. I mean,
Just tell him you thought it was oil.
I was putting the bushings in, and some of it got around on the side, and you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not
No,
legal
but
in
it's
HO racing, but you can't tell you did it.
I honestly, I'm happy with how well the car is performing at this point. I don't even feel the need to do that. It's like butter. It's a whole different car after doing those things. And I'm not saying that won't make it, incrementally better, but diminishing returns and all that.
Really nice butter.
Yeah, really nice butter. Homemade
Expensive.
artisan
Yeah, it's
butter.
designer butter.
This is creamed butter,
That's right.
brandy butter.
That's right.
All right. Well, that's all I wanted to talk about for my Club Corner. Mike had his hand up for Club Corner, and then we'll get to Dennis.
I got a couple things. First off, you remember these?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in the process of making these to compensate for the fact that if you look, you need a plastic spacer in between there where you've widened the section of track. So I'm going to glue those in there and see if it makes it smoother and see what happens.
Okay.
So
you can always that's Bondo, right? You could always slap some Bondo on there.
That's a good idea. I hadn't thought about that. That is a possibility. I could do that and sand it there.
Or that water putty stuff they use for wood tracks.
Well, water putty is pretty brittle.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. I may try to. I'm going to try first to glue these little pieces in there and see how that works. Whether it's smooth enough to make it work or what'll happen on there. But I soldered the piece together, so I have now ruined one of each of the tracks. So there's no going back on those two. But other than that, we had a great race week this week. We raced 1950s Formula cars, and I managed to do a balance of performance setup with the fuel that actually worked, and made it very, very close. I probably aired a little bit too much because the car that I was running, I was third qualifier. It was even regardless. And the lead moved back and forth between the Lancia, the Cartrix Lancia that Mike had, the Ratby had, and mine. You know, every time the pit stop, he had a smaller tank, so less fuel, but the compensating factor there is he runs faster for a larger proportion of the time. So it's a real tight balance to try and get that right. And it sort of succeeded because I beat him on the last lap. So, or about 4 laps from the end, I think, if I remember correctly. And that was great fun. And then we did 50s sports cars, which was the debut of the Ferrari TR, and it won its debut. So that hasn't happened in quite a while. I did put a little bit of time in it, but not as much, just the front end adjustments, and sanded the tires down so I could get minimal clearance, and oiled the tires up a little bit, and it worked fairly well. I didn't have a lot of offs, and it ran pretty well. We had, if you remember last week, I had quite a bit of problems with the disconnect and that going on. Well, that still is happening, but one of the things that I noticed that was because I was moving the track around and creating some new borders. I put plywood borders around the track and filled it in, and took away the guardrails, because that way we don't bang the guardrails so much. Of course, that means that if you go off, you go off completely. But it is better that way. Anyway, forgot where I was going with that. Anyway, the race went pretty well, that one. The last one was a corker because it was a Group C race, and I was quite far behind and managed to claw my way back gradually. Had many more offs than I wanted because I was pushing too hard. But Mike Earring was leading and was doing a fairly conservative job, so he didn't fall off. Well, it became his undoing. He ran out of fuel about 3 inches from the start finish line and lost the race and ended up in third. He was mad. He really was, because it was just, but at any rate, he survived. He's still living, and with the disappointment. But yeah, it was really, really close. All 3 of us finished on the same lap, within probably 2 or 3 feet of each other. Mike would have won it if he would have had enough fuel, but he didn't. He didn't quite load up enough fuel to get all the way home. So
do you have the cars stop completely when the fuel's gone? Not run at like 20%?
No, it doesn't count laps.
It just stops counting laps.
Yeah, it
That's
doesn't stop the car, so you can limp back to the pits, but you don't get any laps counted while that's happening. So on the last lap, he was done, and literally he must have run out just before he crossed the finish line, because he didn't notice any diminution of power, which is what happens when you run out of fuel. You'll drop down to a barely movable state. Well, it was at the end of the start finish is at the end of the straight, so he didn't notice anything at all, and so he must have just run out of fuel, and it didn't count his lap, and so he didn't win. So
I mean, you guys are that close, he probably wouldn't have had time to splash and dash anyways, even if he had noticed.
Oh no, he would have lost no matter what.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have enough fuel to come around. So if he would have stopped the lap, both Shiggy and I would have passed him, and Shiggy would have won the race as he did. I was just about 3 inches behind Shiggy at that point. I had really hauling mail to try and catch up to him. And I did almost succeed. I came really close, but it was kind of interesting to have that be the end of that race. We all finished, within a little bit as we're going past the finish line into the turn. And then there was a few exclamation when the results came up. If you look at the video, he tossed my car on the track and was not real happy about it. And it was a blue and yellow car, Greg.
Oh no!
Yeah, he didn't break anything, but
that's one of the things that is pretty much only possible with digital too, because with digital, the race management is aware of your throttle usage, whereas on analog with fuel, the only thing the race manager knows is when you cross the line. So one of the strategies at Russ's track when we run fuel races at his track is to try to use all of your fuel except for just the fumes on your last lap, and you can get a whole lap on fumes, and then your power cuts when you cross the line at the end of that lap. You don't have to have a whole lap's worth of fuel because it'll basically just cut your power as soon as you cross the lap counter again. So there were many races finished by multiple cars coasting and figuring out who was ahead at the end of all the coasting. It was like, he died there, and they might even end at different times, right? They none of them had but like of the 4 cars, like they're all running on fumes, and there's no time to get more fuel, so you just kind of gun it on the straight and hope that you got the longest coast of all the cars that run out of fuel on that last lap. There are, wins and losses from coast to distance because of that.
Yeah. It
That's
makes it interesting. It keeps it up in the air for a long time, and you really have to concentrate a lot because one of the reasons I won the first race in the slowest car was because I didn't fall off, and the car was good. It was just slow, so it was fun, and I really had to concentrate on keeping it steady and not falling off the track so that I could make up the time that he would spend in the pits fueling up, and he passed me multiple times, and he'd get, and of course his tank was low enough that was small enough that he would have to stop and he would fill up and only lose a half a lap. So, I'd have to maintain that distance quite a bit. And of course, just let him go when he came around and play the game. And it was a strategy game, and we won. And same as real racing, a lot of times the strategy can make a huge difference in the way the race turns out. So it's good fun. We had a great time.
Yep, sounded like fun. All right, Dennis, your turn.
All right, last night, Tuesday night, we had the monthly race at Electric Dreams. We run a Tuesday night series, which is a much more casual, smaller group of people. We run different classes to the ones we normally run at the weekends. The second Saturday racing's a lot bigger. But the fourth Tuesday night, this last one, we ran Revo slots. There were just 9 of us who ran, a bunch of old farts and one new guy, Tony, who is not quite as old fart as the rest of us. We had a great time. Todd Ullery, the guy on the left at the back here, he won again with his CLK Mercedes that he ran last time. He actually ran 1.2 laps further this time to push the record even further. Walter Baines, the guy in the red shirt, he was second, and he beat me by 3 sections on the track for third. I just couldn't coast far enough, but he actually had a really good run at the end. He was also running a CLK. I was running a Porsche Rick, I seem to remember, was running a McLaren. Barbara Hooley was running a Marcos. Tim Fleener here was running a Porsche 911 GT1 Evo. Dave also had a Porsche. Dennis Brown in the blue t-shirt. He was running a, what was he running? I think he could have been running a Marcos as well. And Tony was running a Porsche. So there were, a few different ones. The only one running the GT2 Porsche was me. It's my oldest Revo slot car, the very, very first one I bought. It still has the narrow wheels and tires on the back, which to me work better than the wide ones on that track anyway. It has its original motor. It's done hundreds, if not thousands of laps around my track. And so it's really, really well broken in. And in fact, all the cars, the rules are such that the cars have to be basically stock Revo. The only difference being you can change to other Revo tires, or you can go to the wider tire, or you could put in the wood guide. So everybody runs a wood guide, and most of the guys run the wide tire, and some of them run the soft short tire. I run the 30 short tire in the narrow one, and it was fun. As I say, with 9 guys, we were done quite early, but a fun evening. So I just thought I'd share that.
Yeah.
Dennis, no more penalty for running a GT1 car versus a GT2 car?
Unfortunately, no. Although even if there used to be a 5-lap penalty. He beat us by 8, so I doubt that it would have made any difference. Yeah, he was quite a bit quicker than the rest of us.
Dennis, I've never held one of those Revo slot Porsches that you race, but it looks to me from a distance from the photographs that the body is a copy of the old Polycar Pro Slot.
Pro Slot. Yeah, it's if it's not the same one, it's very, very, very similar.
Okay. It really intrigues me why they make some lovely original bodies. Like the Supra and the GT1 spring to mind, and then they copy that. It's really weird.
It was their very first one, so maybe that's the reason.
Yeah.
And then after that, they started on their own stuff.
Yeah. Interesting.
And maybe they managed to get hold of the tooling or something. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very, very similar. So, and I like those cars, but the shorter car handles well for me on that track. But I have to drive it in a kind of a point and squirt style. You charge at the turn, you brake late, you turn in, you charge out of the turn. It's not the kind of car that you can drive in a flowing style, but it's quick enough that I'm always competitive with it. So I was pretty happy.
Love to race them up here.
Yeah. They're nice to run against each other. They're really nice, and they handle a wood track very well. That's the nice part about them. We've done this before at Buena Park as well. Just plop a whole bunch of stock Revo slots on the track, and they all run great.
No, they run great. The dealers here just won't carry them.
Yeah, that is an issue that's quite widespread, I'm afraid.
Is there a reason behind that?
Yeah, difficult to get spares, difficult to get treatment from the distributor in that would be in line with the amount of business you want to do with it. And the fact that he is both a distributor and a retailer means that his retail outlet gets preference, and that's not fair to other retailers.
Yeah, it's not a question the dealers ever can't, they won't. And Dennis just outlined the reasons.
Well, I mean, there's lots of distributor dealers out there.
Sure, but then when a distributor tells his dealers that there's a car coming, and you put in an order and you pay for it ahead of time, and then when you finally get your order, number one, it's late. Number two, it's not complete, and he tells you that's all he can give you. That annoys you.
Yeah, that is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate because it's a nice range of car, and it's not being supported or not being distributed quite the way that it could be.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't want to use this this platform for that.
No. And if I had any clout with them, I would, but I've got none.
Yeah, none of us.
Anywho, we'll move on from that topic. Jim, what you want to talk about?
I just had a general question. I'm going to be building a Trans Am car out of a Pioneer. And I assume somebody here knows what size gears I can replace those stock gears with, NSR/slotted, whatever metal gears. What size I need for that car?
6.5, 19.
Yeah, I think so.
That was my
same as
answer.
Scaleelectric.
It is the same as Scaleelectric?
I think so.
Yeah.
So say that again, Chris. I need to write 6.5, 19.
Yeah.
Got it.
Now, do you do
7.5, 18.
when you're building the Trans Am car, does he have to have a specific ratio or?
No, gears are open, so I can go like maybe 7.5, 18.
Yeah. No.
And a different ratio, yeah, and a different ratio.
Yeah, okay, no, that's fine. It was always a bit of a controversy in a lot of the clubs that allow Pioneers to race with the Scaleelectrics, because all Pioneer Trans Ams have an 11-tooth pinion, and all Pioneer Trans Ams and stuff had a 12-tooth pinion. So a bit of a difference, and they both had 36-tooth spurs. So I just wasn't sure if you were aware of that, but if you can change gear ratios and stuff, it makes no difference anyway, so you're fine.
Change gears and ratios, so that's perfect answer, thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, because the Pioneers came with, or at least initially, they came with an 11 on the motor and then a 12 in the box, or vice versa. Like they came with
12 and 13, I think, in the box.
There's 12 on the motor and 13 in the box, I think.
Yeah.
Or 12 and 13 in the box and 11 on the iron, something like
It was
that.
3 pinions. It was 11, 12, and 13. You got.
Was it 3? Oh.
Yeah.
Put it up at 12.
So I'm guessing probably an 18 would be the best way to go on that, to build a car and be able to get it low.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, you can run. Are you limited on your wheel diameters?
Whatever fits. I haven't built it yet, so I'm gonna have to experiment with wheel diameters, but
Yeah, the smallest wheel diameter and the tallest sidewall profile you can go. So if you do go to an 18, you can still run the same diameter as you wanted with the 19-inch, but you can run a slightly smaller wheel and a slightly taller sidewall, which again, depending on the track, you may or may not want more grip or less grip. So you're not running it on that commercial glue track, are you?
no. Just
Okay.
home tracks. Yeah.
Okay.
Normal wood tracks, not the commercial.
Yeah. No. I mean, for tracks like that, you can use plywood tires. They work just fine.
Hadn't thought of that. That plywood probably would work on those tracks.
Well, I mean, I mean, obviously exaggerating, but I mean, anything, even when you clean the glue off, the residue is enough that a 32nd scale car just like it. You may as well have a guide flag in the back as well.
A Group C, a stock slotted Group C car, if you put a normal set of tires up, will burn the motor out because there's so much glue. It's just like So the answer for my answer for that is I'm running the stock slotted tire that comes with the car.
The
And they're
C1.
good tires. They're
They
good
are.
tires. They just don't have a lot of grip, so they work really well on that track.
Right.
All right, we're at our 2-hour mark and there's a lull in the conversation. So I'm going to go back to YouTube and hit the end stream button and we'll wave goodbye to people and all that jazz. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Yep, and I'm off. I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.